almost all of wellness treats healing as if it's independent. And even myself, after 11 years as a healing practitioner, coach, spiritual guide, I've recognized after marriage that healing actually can never be independent. It's always just a band-aid. Healing independently is actually part of the disease of the very collective conditioning that we're trying to dissolve within us, that we're trying to actually break free of. To be independent is to be independent of the whole and not actually sense into the greater patterns that are co-created through relationship. All of our challenges and what we call traumas and all the conditioning from the collective comes from relationship. So to heal independently is if we cannot ensure that we relate to the other, of which either the trauma was caused or we were hold on, what's up, baby? What are you doing? I think she's trying to hump my leg. Hey? Okay, so I don't even know. I'm not even going to start another video. We'll just keep going. So you can see, like, healing independently is actually part of the collective disease. Do you think that we were wired to be independent, like as a species? Do you think we were wired to be independent? The answer is no. We were designed as an interdependent species, like all species are. They're interdependent on each other, the land, and again, the intersection between us and all life on this planet. We're intertwined, and we're of course quantumly entangled. We're the only species on this planet that operates separately from that, because we're living in the conditioned mind, making its own choices in time, instead of living in security in the now moment of creation. We just even all of wellness and meditation is a bit of a ruse. Not a bit, it's a lot, it's a farce, and I've taught it myself for over a decade. I've sold thousands of meditation albums trying to sell the concept that women and men are androgynous and we should do the same form of meditation, find sovereignty in our own healing independently of each other. And here's where the big farce, where the big lie, where the illusion and distortion is in these teachings. And this is a majority of the wellness, majority of wellness practices. A woman, for example, that's in relationship with a man, a husband that's married, if she's suffering from a lot of challenges and trauma that's catalyzed by the man, I have to relate this to a bigger picture, that women are responding to men and men's traumas, men's challenges within the collective. It's not that women don't have challenges, it's that the collective traumas that we all suffer from started from men. So even if the woman has childhood trauma, it stemmed from her father being out of natural order, and her mother was responding to the disorder in the man. There's a natural order to life on this planet that we completely disregard, dismiss, that's innate in our biology. So if a woman is suffering from challenges in her marriage and she goes off to yoga, goes off to her own energy healing practitioners, her own life coach, and regulates her nervous system on her own, and then comes back to the relationship feeling calm and at peace and non-reactive, which is what men love. Men love a non-reactive woman who's not really sharing her emotions or pain. Then she's living in an independent silo, and the true pain and suffering that her husband caused, he can never really see. This has happened in my marriage. Like, I'm still, after 3 years of course, receiving pain that I've caused over 6 years that I've known my wife, and I am one of those disassociated men. That's why I'm here sharing all this transparently and publicly, because I've had to see, even in myself, even as a so-called spiritual teacher, in the background I was still acting like a victim, deflective, defensive, and never took responsibility for my innate biological role. My innate biological role meaning that as a man, I have a duty and responsibility to tend and nurture and steward the environment I create. That's our role. It's not so much that I lead my wife. My wife is a leader in her own right. It's that I lead myself to make sure that my embodiment creates utmost safety in every part of my expression, and I've never done that. Again, I've spoken about that before. I've grew up without a father, all the stories, but I essentially have been, I've always been an unsafe and very selfish man that always just wanted to succeed and make money in my life in the collective, but never actually take full responsibility and ownership for not only the environment I create, but the trauma I share in the world, even in my work or expression, and I never took responsibility for my wife's expression or any pain that I caused. So if a woman tries to heal on her own in that regard, then she's living in a silo. She's coming to the relationship seemingly feeling she's whole, but the true nature of her pain cannot go through a full cycle, because in union, that cycle needs to be seen and it needs to be presented freely to the husband, to the man, for him to witness and meet himself in the pain and suffering that he caused, that is also caused, of course, by his generational trauma from men before him. Again, there's a natural order to things. We can't just separate women as if they're independent from their husbands or from men or from society and continue to suppress women. A woman who's healing independently is still suppressed, whether she's conscious of it or not. She's been programmed by society and the conditioning of society to pacify herself, to make herself small, to find a perceived illusion of strength on her own. But the interdependent union and transparency of what needs to be seen is never seen. So if she doesn't resolve that and is not free to express it, even though she feels healed in this moment for these few months or this year, that energy is still inside of that woman, the woman, and she will rupture. It will come out one way or the other in a physical disease, emotional disease, or in her marriage later on. It will still be there. It'll still impact the children, because the children won't witness the mirror of what actually needs to be presented and seen to go through the full cycle so natural order can take place. Consciousness needs to see itself, needs to meet itself in order for consciousness to know where order should be made. We try and create our own kind of order from the mind in separation with natural order. We try and create compartmentalized boxes of order, like boxes of hypnotherapy, this type of trauma therapy, anxious attachment, this kind of style, this type of codependency. All of it are mentalized, compartmentalized types of superficial and false order from the mind. It's a disorder that actually creates more disorder, because it doesn't surrender to the natural order of life on this planet, of our biology as men and women. And if we're not returned to our innate design in our biology and the innate roles we have that is designed for us, it's not our choice, then everything we do is a band-aid. So healing independently for a woman is absolutely outrageous. It's a band-aid. The deeper traumas will come out, and I have to admit, over years, a decade of my own practices and sharing my own somatic meditations and working on somatic trauma therapies with thousands of people over the years, I had to stop, as I said, even last year, take 9 months off to really, on a sabbatical, see myself and witness how I was doing that. Even in my current programs where I thought I was teaching let go, let God, and the truth about surrender, I still wasn't embodied. So I've realized that a woman who heals on her own, it's actually not really healing. She's actually coping, learning to cope more in the disease of society and perform more in the disease of society. So the full cycle is not fully seen. For the man, this is what happens too. If the man heals independently, like I have done my entire life, and I become a spiritual teacher and healer, I'm a perfect example. There's still traumas I don't see in relationship. Like, I'm turning 50 years old next month, and this is my second marriage with my wife, Amanda Lee, and I have passed on traumas even in the beginning and now in this marriage of like acting like a victim, not knowing my role, being emotionally and physically abusive, like I've mentioned. And all of that was not seen because I kept healing on my own in my own spiritual circles and retreats and my own work with other healers and practitioners over the year, where I'm tapping into a sense of awareness within myself, but it is not in relationship with other. I never tested the true nature of my quote unquote healing. All of it was a band-aid that was performative, that just made me seem calm and collected to strangers and to the public and maybe to friends. But in relationship, I never got to see the mirror of myself. I never got to see how unsafe I was. I never got to see how emotionally reactive I was. I never got to see where I was out of biological order as a man. I never even thought I wasn't a man. I thought I was a man. I was acting like a boy the whole time. And even deeper than that, I didn't even know that there were innate biological roles. I was programmed to think 50-50 relationships and a woman that is independent on her own. And I'm not talking about codependency, that's a labeled term from modern psychology. I'm talking about the true nature of, I wasn't aware of interdependency, that there's actually an interdependent, beautiful union between man and woman that I was completely bypassing. I was just ignorant of, not even bypassing, I wasn't even aware. So me healing alone all those years and then becoming some spiritual teacher 11 years ago, it was a complete joke. I look back at it, and I'm not being self-deprecating. Like, as a man, I need to see myself clearly so order can be created, co-created, right? I need to be transparent. This is the confession to myself, so I see and feel the true nature of my reality, and I no longer disassociate from the reality of the pain and suffering I perpetuated in my work, with clients, with my wife. And I actually feel the true nature that independent healing doesn't actually do anything. It just made me regulate myself and exist in the public, and then only be okay with, in that case years ago before my marriage, okay with women who self-regulated as well. I was only okay with 50-50, like women who would meet me in the middle, and no one understood that there were innate biological roles, and we're still living in the disease of the collective unconsciously. Like, I have very dear friends who say, and again with love, if they're watching this video, again, we've talked about this, who say that they have successful marriages. But again, here's the prodding question. If your marriage is conditioned by the collective and we're not returned to an innate biological natural order of roles that actually are there to co-create an innate natural harmony that is integrated with the earth, integrated with each other, lives only in the reality of the now moment, not in the systems of the world and in this concept of time, which disrupts our reality. That is literally the disruption of our reality. I'll do another video on that another day. But then if you think you have a successful marriage, but it's living in the condition of the collective, frankly, that's not successful. If the woman is still independent and not interdependent on her man, and if the man is still independent and not interdependent on the woman, then that's actually what I've learned, and this is the hard part, that's actually not a real relationship. And that's a triggering statement for many. I had to feel into that myself. I've never actually had a real relationship. None of us do if we're not in biological order. It's just relationships based on the mind, creating these ideas of relationships over decades and hundreds of years of how we perceive modern culture to operate. But can you see, we're just compartmentalizing and creating a box of what we think a relationship is, because we're so separated from the natural order of creation, of life on this planet. So sensing into that myself, independent healing is an absolute distortion, and it's a disease. A man cannot heal independently. A woman cannot heal independently. Relationship and true healing for humanity and transformation can only happen in union. It can only happen in relationship. That is the only time consciousness can see itself in relationship, not just within you in a silo. So for the men and women there, I know, again, I'm with you. I'm transparently here on the path myself. I'm not saying I have arrived by any means. And I will say again transparently, even this awareness means nothing without my actual action and embodiment, and I'm still working and processing through that myself, integrating that intelligence. Until the intelligence is fully met in the body, not just in the mind, but in the body energetically, and I feel the deep truth of it, well, then I stop either acting like a victim, even in the most subtle ways, or asking my wife to, like, hold on, let's talk about this another time, for me to actually meet myself in the now moment so we can heal in interdependent union. Not asking my wife to mind her own healing and heal herself, or for me to go off in a room till tomorrow and meditate on my own. True healing can only happen in the now moment as those interactions are happening, and we witness. I've narrowed it down to two things. Number one, where are we separating ourselves from the aliveness of the now moment? Like men being avoidant, women being avoidant too. And where are we not in our innate biological roles? That's important too. Like my wife has a right, because of the suppression of women over thousands of years, to express her pain and be free from that suppression. That's what I mean about biological roles. Women have to be free from the suppression. Women are genetically wired to be free in their creative expression and their feelings, so they can be the mirror and marker for order in the village, in humanity, in the culture, in her community. The women and the divine mother is the mirror of order. And she like a woman who is held, who feels secure, who feels cherished, a mother who is nurtured, a society who cherishes the mother, which is not modern society at all. We treat women like men and we make them work like men. So we don't cherish the mother. If women need to be nurtured and cherished in that degree. And I have failed to do that myself. Again, I'm just feeling into all this myself after 50 years on this planet. So we really have to understand the biological roles we have, that men also have the duty and responsibility to uphold that natural order, not to dominate over women, but to uphold and protect natural order. When we uphold and embody natural order, we no longer need to protect our women because we live in interdependent harmony with each other in community in the land. There's no protection needed. We're just living in union with the divine, with truth, with creation. It's not even divine in that regard. It's just, it is life. That is creation itself. So those two things, to summarize, where we separate ourselves from the now moment and living securely there, related to our biological roles, women being free in expression, men upholding utmost responsibility and duty to truly embody and protect natural order. And in that regard, when we embody that, order will be made and forged through us. Creation's will be working through us, and we're vessels of creation now. We're no longer living in separation in the mind, and we're no longer trying to heal or live independently, relying only on the systems of the mind to create union. Can you see how that's false? When we rely on systems of the mind, psychology, attachment styles to create union, that is a human construct that's trying to control order instead of surrendering to the innate human design of our innate biological order that's already there. And that is the only thing that'll co-create harmony all over this planet for generations to come, as we surrender to the current of how we were designed and no longer veer from that design. Some would say, of course, I know there may be comments that we've been deprogrammed or programmed this way. But here, I'll say this briefly and I'll do another video on this. Even if we were programmed or deprogrammed in this way, by whatever entities you feel that is, the true nature is we're still made from the same energetic source as all of creation. So we still have direct access to the original intelligence of life all over the universe, all over our planet, all over life and all of existence. So again, independence is a disease. Healing interdependently is I'm learning. Unfortunately, yes, I admit it's been an immense challenge. Healing interdependently is the only path to true unity for all of humanity. If this speaks to you, let me know down below.